This is a quick review of the PAW1100T. T is for titanium, and this is the atomic version of the PRG80T watch. As you can see, this is the gift box edition. I got this over the holidays to replace my PRG40T watch that I've had since 2002. And that was a brilliant watch. The only issue with that watch was battery powered, and the batteries were getting really expensive to replace. It used 4 pacemaker batteries that cost me about $40 to $50 in repair costs every 2 to 3 years. So I decided to go for a solar powered watch, and this watch also has the atomic feature where it updates the time atomically wirelessly through the atomic headquarters in Fort Collins, Colorado. So just take it off so you get to see. It's a really light watch for the appearance of it. Inside the box we have, and this is the gift box, I'm gonna reiterate, there is other boxes that you might see if you go to a department store to buy this watch. Moving along, inside we have the extra links. I took it out. I've been wearing this for about a month now, so it's the end of January. I've had this since Christmas. So this is a fake unboxing because I've already unboxed this watch. I have another video, a quick, shorter video showing the unboxing of this watch. Okay, quick start manual right here. I've never seen this for a watch before, but this watch is serious business. It has a lot of stuff going on for it. I usually see quick starts for computers, you know, cell phones and laptops, what have you. Little guide in the atomic timekeeping feature. The atomic timekeeping is the most confusing thing on this watch. I've had it on Citizen watches before, but on this watch, for some reason, the radio receiving antenna is just very finicky. It's not the strongest thing. If you're looking at this watch and you see the, oh my god, it self-adjusts, it's self-adjusting, it's sort of I think it's false advertising, because it only adjusts at between midnight and 4 a.m. in the morning. It's not like you could wear this watch, push a button any time of the day and it updates itself. It doesn't work like that. In my experience with this watch, I'm not even sure if I'm using it right, because the booklet manual is very, very confusing, and there's some parts in the manual guide that's contradictory. I'm not even gonna get into that in this video, but I could spend all day talking about the that feature and why it kind of is confusing and perplexing. So go back in. But in saying that, I guess Casio included this. It doesn't really say much other than how to put the watch in a windowsill when you want it to update. And you have to put it either windowsill or put the watch outside on the ground, away from any metal objects, for it to manually or automatically update. So it's not like a simple thing. You can't be wearing a watch, apparently, when it's updating. It has to be off your wrist, on the ground, somewhere in the open, or on a windowsill that's large and open. So this is the module 3043, and the module number, Casio does a great job on this in providing ample instructions on how to use the watches, and the watches are categorized by the booklet by module. So this is module 3043, and this booklet would work with this watch, the PAW1100T, as well as other versions of the PAW1100, the non-titanium versions, and as well as the PRG80T and PRG80 watches. This mod uses the same module 3043. Casio gives you ample instructions, a very thick book. The watch isn't really that complicated to use. If you've used a Pathfinder watch before, or ABC watch, the Pathfinders, Protrek series, these are some of the easiest watches to use in terms of the ABC functions. You could also, and I love Casio for this, they support their watches online as well. So you could go online if you buy this watch, say on eBay, and it's used and beat up and it doesn't come with anything. You could go online and print the manual guide for free. It's a PDF format, and it gives you all the instructions you need for operating this watch. Good thing, I'm glad Casio does that. They're a really good company for doing things like that. My PRG40 watch that I've had for about 10 years, I could go online today and find information on that watch, which is kind of cool in terms of downloading a manual for it, which is kind of really cool. Quality and appearance of this watch, it's a very sleek watch in terms of the other Pathfinder watches that Casio makes. It's a sleeker of the Pathfinder watches in terms of the way the titanium is used. It's kind of flush with the with the watch. It comes over in an aerodynamic, well-designed feature of this watch. Other Pathfinder watches, especially the PAW1100 and 2500 watches, they are very chunky watches, and this watch is chunky, as you see here. I love the way Casio uses their titanium band. It does make the watch really light, and it also flows very well into the watch. My PRG40T, the titanium band ended pretty much here, and the rest of the watch was very plasticky. But this watch, it feels solid. It's very good in the materials they use. No complaints. There is a bit of steel around the bezel here that makes it polished. This is not titanium, I don't think. Or if it is, it's a very good use of contrasting the different types of the matte against the polished titanium. But I'm assuming this is a steel thing right there. There's also a bit of steel in the back. The back casing is stainless steel, and there's some steel in the this thing right here in this part of the bracelet. It's like a stamped stainless steel. There is plastic on this watch, and Casio uses a resin plastic. This is really hard, almost like steel hard plastic. And I found in my PRG40 watch that I've had since 2002 used the same, maybe a lesser version of the resin. After 10 years of that watch being on my wrist in salt water, on the beach, in snow, in freezing temperatures, in very hot weather, that resin plastic held up really well. So I expect it to last as long, 10 years or even more on this watch. It's not gonna crack or fade or get soft or anything like that, but it's a really good use of materials on this watch. Before I put the watch in my hand, I'm just gonna gripe about the display on this watch. This is timekeeping mode first and foremost. In this is the mode you'll have 99% of the time when you're wearing this watch. If you're not using the A, B, and C functions or any of the, say, the stopwatch or chronograph functions, this is the mode everyone walks around with their watch as. In this mode, you could toggle through. The top gives you the calendar month and calendar date by hitting the adjust button. And for some reason, another gripe is Casio made this adjust button on this particular watch. Other Pathfinder's watches don't have an adjust button that's hidden. It's almost hidden. It's flush with the watch, and it's buried beneath the neck of the lug right here. So you have to, like, I have small fingers. I'm not wearing gloves. I'm not outside. It's not 20 or 19 degrees or you know, extreme temperature, and I can hardly push this button. And I have small fingers. And you have to hit that button to toggle between the weekday display and the calendar date and month display. In saying that, you put your finger, and I have small fingers again, on half of the screen, and you see the other half, the left side of this screen, is blank. And I'm not sure why Casio decided to do that. Other watches in the Protrek Pathfinder series have a better use of the entire display. There's no, like, blank real estate. Like, it's all blank on that side, and they could have used this space. And this is a timekeeping mode to maybe display the week, day, as well as the calendar date, or I don't know, design it a little better. This watch also has a 24-hour version of the timekeeping if you wanted to. That gives you the extra digits after 12. After noon, it gives you 13, 14, 15, so forth. I guess that that space is filled in a little bit, but you put your finger on half of the display, and the half is blank. And this is timekeeping mode, and this is the mode you glance over your watch and you want to see pertinent information for timekeeping. And I just think they could have done better with that. Compass mode, another gripe is the compass is really slow. My PRG40 watch, and then again, I'm coming from a Pathfinder watch that I've had before. So coming from that, this watch is much slower in the compass reading. It takes about 3 seconds to actually get into. So it's blank, and then there you go, and it starts reading. My PRG40T watch, the minute you hit that compass button, it was dead on. It started, like, calibrating stuff and doing stuff. Here it takes a little bit, but the compass is it's on a dual layer display, which is really cool. Casio kind of got rid of that. Then they seem to be bringing it back again, because it makes the watch unique in terms of other ABC watches. I really like that feature. It looks really cool. In saying that, I'm gonna go off again. This watch doesn't have the demo display mode that older Pathfinder watches had. The demo display is basically like a screensaver function for this watch, where you push a button, you hold down the adjust button, and it would cycle through all the ABC functions and a bit of all the features in the watch for show. But the practicality of that is, like, if you saved barometric reading in a watch, as it also gives you temperature down there, it would show you this information in the demo mode. So it would show you the recent information for your barometric reading as well as your altimeter reading. It would show you that in the demo mode, and it would just cycle through this not randomly, but it will cycle through the different ABC modes like that. And that was a really good feature, and it was a feature at first I didn't really use in the first 3 years of owning my PRG-40, but in the last 5 to 6 years I use that a lot, especially when you're hiking and you just want to get all the reading at once without having to push buttons. That demo display mode would give you all the readings, which was kind of cool. This doesn't have that for some reason. Barometric and altimeter I've never really used on my PRG-40, and I don't think I'm going to use it here. A lot of criticism this watch got, especially all the Pathfinder, Casio Pathfinder Protrek watches get, is that the B and A functions of barometric and altimeter readings are not accurate or not dead on. If you rely on those functions for maybe life or death or maybe professional work that you do in the field, don't buy this watch for that. This is not a professional grade watch, nor is it like I have a handheld Garmin GPS that I use for hiking. That's very much more accurate that I use for those functions, which I don't even use when I'm hiking anyway. I don't really use those functions. I have a map, I follow the trail on the map, and I'm happy. I don't really need extra stuff in my outdoor routine to confuse me or make me, you know, think too much. I'm just there to have fun. So I don't really use the barometric or altimeter. I use on the barometric, I use the temperature reading. And that said, on your wrist, this is not going to give you accurate reading of the ambient temperature. You have to take it off your wrist, clip it to your backpack, which is what I do. In about maybe 3 minutes, it'll give you the accurate reading of the ambient temperature. It's not going to give it to you on your wrist. On your wrist, it's going to give you maybe a average between your wrist and the ambient temperature around your wrist. It's not going to give you accurate ambient temperature. So keep that in mind. I'm not even sure if that affects the barometric reading as well, because that reading is dependent on the temperature reading. So keep all that in mind. The compass is very useful. It works perfectly, and it's probably the feature you're probably going to use the most on this watch, and I really like that feature. Going on about, that's the ABC. So the display, I wish Casio did a better job of designing it. I shouldn't be able to put my finger over half of the display and the other half is blank. Like, look at that. So that's sad. Moving along, it has a bunch of modes you could Google and find out for yourself. The timekeeping mode is really good. It has the world time. So it gives you basically every time zone on the planet that you could set this to. Every time zone. There's no shortage of that. There's a stopwatch, countdown timer, all that stuff. 5 alarms. The alarm chime is not the loudest thing, so if you're buying this watch as an alarm clock to wake up to, it's not going to wake you up. Even if you're a light sleeper, you're not hearing this alarm. I don't know. You're not going to hear it. It's just it's about, if you hear my button presses, you probably can't. It's about that loud. That's how loud the alarm would be on this watch. So don't buy this watch for an alarm clock. You know, use your iPhone or BlackBerry or whatever phone you have for an alarm clock. This is not going to wake anyone up. So moving along from the alarm, and it has the 5 alarms on this watch as well as the hourly signals chime if you wanted to do that. Set that. The atomic clock receiving, atomic update receiving function is very, very confusing. It's not a one press button thing and updates the time. You have to take it off your wrist, lay it down on a windowsill between midnight and 4 a.m. to get an update, right? It could automatically update that way, or during those times of 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. in the morning, you could update it by holding this button down, and it goes into auto update, and you would put it back down as soon as possible. It's not going to update with holding it in your hand or on your wrist. You have to place it down by a windowsill. It wouldn't do it indoors. It has to be a windowsill or outside. And it's not going to do anything because it's the middle of the day and I'm not on a windowsill. So I see the last time it updated was 1:51 a.m. last night. It updated, and that was a manual update I had to do. I'm not keen on this feature, and the radio receiving antenna is not strong. I've had Citizen watches with the radio antenna that updated automatically during the day, any time of the day, while the watch is being worn. This watch, you have to take it off. It's more of a headache. I'm not sure if it's an older version of this technology, but for me, it's more of a headache than anything else. I could see if you have an analog watch, and I'm wearing my Citizen Caliber 2100. If you have an analog watch with the calendar day date inside there, That usually you have to reset that every month depending on if the month has 30 days or 31 days. Radio receiving on this watch would be much more, for the time update as well to calibrate the time, would be much more useful because it's analog watch 1 and it has that date display window that you wouldn't want to reset every month. You would want the atomic update to reset that display for you. So on this watch it's much more useful than a digital watch because digital watches are pretty much already dependable for timekeeping accuracy. So it's just more of a gimmick than a useful tool for me. And I live in New York on the East Coast, so maybe if I lived in Colorado or the Midwest or California, the signal comes from Fort Collins, Colorado. So I'm assuming if I lived closer there, I would have a better signal, or better. I would enjoy the function more than I do living in New York or far away from the signal source. And back to timekeeping mode. So as you see there, this watch is bigger, but it weighs about a third less, about 1/3 the weight of this watch. So it's bigger than this watch, but it's so much lighter. I mean, it's very much lighter. So you can see thickness. And these watches are the Citizen watch. You could say it's like basically your everyday watch. I usually have my tape measure out so you can see, get an idea of, for scale reasons, how the watches look. So it's about within the inch to 2 inch for size. See there. You can also Google that information online easily. And it is very thick and chunky, but it wears really light. It wears really light on the wrist, and you can wear it for running, and it won't feel like you're wearing a heavy watch. My wrist is about 7 inches in diameter. Put that to the side. And I wore my PRG40T watch for running all the time, for swimming, and I didn't feel like it was something heavier or distracting on my wrist. Keep in mind, I have smallish wrist. If you have wrist smaller than mine, the lugs are not flexible. It's a stiff lug that goes right into the body of the watch, and I could squeeze that. It's not gonna flex. The first week I had this watch, it rubbed against my knuckle of my wrist right there. You can see it's kind of still red from rubbing. It still rubs, but I guess I got used to it over the month of wearing this. But just keep that in mind. It irritates you for the first week or so of wearing this watch, but after a while you do get used to it. And my old PRG40T titanium band was much more flexible than this at the lugs, but the lugs here are stiff. And if your wrist is really small, there might be a gap right there where it overhangs on your wrist, so keep that in mind. But it's a very comfortable watch to wear. It's actually also one of the first Pathfinder watch that I had that I could actually put over my my shirt sleeve, and it doesn't stick out or bulky. But Casio recommends you wear this outside anyway, because this needs to be exposed to sunlight or ambient room light at all times to power the battery. And this is one of those, compared to Eco Drives, the solar power technology in this watch, I don't know if it's to say it's not as good, but this watch is doing a lot more stuff than these analog watches are doing. So if you don't have the daily dose of vitamin D, you are not going to, you're going to find that this is going to power down really quickly, especially if you have a lot of stuff going on, like the automatic backlight on, or the atomic radio receiving updates set for auto on. It's going to drain the battery much quicker if you're not exposing this to daily sunlight, so keep that in mind as well. But it's an easy watch to wear. I really like this watch. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it in the long term, as long as 10 years. Might get the PRX. I'm looking at the PRX. The Japanese model is the PRX 2500. And look at that watch, the PRX or PAW 2500 watch, 2500T watch. Come back and look at this watch, and you'll see what I mean about the display being, it's just a lot of blank real estate, and I kind of like that. I know it makes the watch easier to read, like you could glance once and you can see what's going on, but I kind of want more information displayed at once. Because when you're hiking, you're in a field, you look at your watch, you kind of want to look at it and get a lot of stuff without having to push buttons or dig in here to find that button. You don't want to. I don't like doing that, so I might invest in those watches. They're way more expensive, but I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this for 10 years. But if this is your first Pathfinder watch, you will love this watch. I mean, it'll give you everything you need to do. But if it's not your first Pathfinder watch, you might find, that it's okay. It's just an okay watch. Okay.